Erika is here to update us on what's happening in the schools.
With rain or snow moving in over the next few months, we wanted to make sure Silver Lake students who are dropped off before the building opens have a dry spot to stand and wait. Check out the new 20 by 40 tent located at the main entrance, and please feel free to take advantage of it or the awning in inclement weather, although we will have to take it down when the wind gets too high. There was no school on Wednesday, November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. I would like to take this opportunity to honor and thank our local veterans and especially our Laker alumni in uniform for their service to our country. Last year, we filmed a presentation honoring our veterans. Let's look at some of the highlights.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Gill, the principal of Silver Lake Regional High School. On behalf of all of us here, I'd like to thank all of our veterans for joining us today and thank them for their service to our country.
I am thankful to have the freedom to be able to play sports because of the brave.
I have freedom to get education because of the brave.
I have freedom to travel the world because of the brave.
I have freedom of economic opportunity because of the brave.
I have freedom of education because of the brave.
I have the freedom for mental health awareness because of the brave.
I have freedom to go to school because of the brave.
I have freedom to bear arms because of the brave.
I have freedom to do what I love because of the brave.
I have the freedom of personal identification because of the brave.
I have freedom from mass shootings because of the brave.
I have the freedom for healthcare at any age because of the brave.
I am grateful to have the freedom to live my life any way that I want to because of the brave.
I have freedom to create my own unique art because of the brave.
Our flag does not fly because the wind moves. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it.
America's White Table. This table set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that some are missing from our ranks.
The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The black napkin represents the sorrow of captivity.
The single red rose in the vase signifies the blood that many shed to ensure the freedom of the United States of America. This rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith awaiting their return.
The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the yellow ribbon worn on the lapels of thousands who demand proper accounting of our comrades who are not among us. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate.
The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless fallen tears of families as they wait. The glass is inverted because they cannot toast with us. The chair is empty because they are not here.
The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope that lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of a grateful nation.
I'd like to thank my grandfather, Grandpa Banis, for all of his service that he's done.
You're great.
I would like to thank my brother and all the veterans for their service.
I would like to thank my grandfather and all the other veterans for their service.
I would like to thank my father and all the other veterans in the audience for everything they've done for our country.
I'm here to thank all veterans for their selfless service to our country and to the world. I'm here specifically to recognize the veterans in my own family. First, my nephew, Zach Alden, a 215 graduate of Middleborough High School who has just completed his 3 years in the U.S. Marines. I'm stationed mostly in Japan and will return home next month and join the reserves. Second, to my dad, James DePasqua, a retired U.S. Navy reservist who was on the USS Beatty in the late 1960s before I was born. And finally, to my grandfather, William Hammond, age 93, who joined the U.S. Army at age 18 and served during World War II. He was stationed in Germany from 1944 to 1946, serving both at the end of the war and in the occupation. And I'd also like to recognize my grandmother on the other side of my family's brother, William Gilman, who also served in World War II and did not come home.
I just wanted to thank my mom for her service and know that every day you were at training, I missed you, but I'm glad you're home for good now.
I'd like to thank my papa for his service and for everything that he's taught me.
I'd like to thank all of our veterans. I most especially would like to thank my father-in-law, Barry Mathias. Thank you for your service, and thank you for everything that you do for our family each and every day. I love you.
I've had several veterans in my life. The first one I thank because he enlisted. During the Vietnam era, as you know, most of the veterans were drafted, but he felt a need to enlist and fight for his country. And also, if you remember the time period, it was when the United States wasn't all that conducive to African Americans. So I thank him for that, and he's still proud of it to this day. The second veteran that I now have in my life, who is his father and is 91, was in between the World War II and Korean conflict. And what he does is he keeps alive the Tuskegee Airmen so they won't be forgotten. Because even within people of color, the history of the Tuskegee Airmen have been cut short or forgotten. The children that have come forward, or the students, have said, thank you for education, but I also want to thank the veterans because I have freedom of religion.
I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank all of our veterans for being here today, but especially to my favorite veteran, my dad. I love you and thank you for your service.
I am thankful to all of the veterans who have risked their lives to serve our country, and a special thanks to my Uncle Kevin for his sacrifice. On behalf of the Silver Lake community, happy Veterans Day to all.
A person in our Pembroke High School community has tested positive for COVID-19. Our first responsibility is to keep our students and staff safe. The faculty at Pembroke High School have been planning for this scenario during the reopening planning process and have a comprehensive plan in place to sanitize the school, inform families whose students were at risk of exposure or in close contact, and support of the affected family as they navigate this stressful experience. Their student body and staff have been closely adhering to the safety protocols, including mask wearing, hand washing, and physical distancing. We are grateful for our families for their continued efforts to keep students home at the first sight of symptoms. These measures taken in combination greatly reduce the risk of additional transmission. We also want to assure you that the individual that tested positive was not present at school during their infectious period as defined by the CDC. As we approach the holidays and people consider how to gather safely with friends and family, we want to take this opportunity to remind you about Governor Baker's travel order. The travel order urges Massachusetts residents to limit out-of-state travel only to states identified as COVID-19 lower risk states. For those Massachusetts residents who choose to travel to a non-lower risk state, the governor's travel order requires you must quarantine for 14 days or produce a negative COVID-19 test result that has been given up to 72 hours prior to arriving back in Massachusetts. The test must be from an FDA EUA approved molecular PCR test. Serology or rapid tests will not be accepted, or obtain a PCR test after arrival back in Massachusetts and quarantine until obtaining a negative test. For students who are quarantining to comply with the governor's order, caretakers should inform either school that the student is quarantining so that arrangements can be made for students to complete work at home. We are requesting that students not attend school in person if they have traveled to a non-lower risk state and have not completed their quarantine or received a negative result that meets the guidelines above. Elizabeth, back to you.